Of all the royals, senior working, status or not, Harry and Meghan are the absolute last individuals who should be speaking on behalf of the British royal family, or stripped of their Sussex titles, which were a wedding gift from Her Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth II, not King Charles. But even if the implicitly biased firm and senior working royals choose to do, it really won't affect those of us, outside the UK and the Commonwealth, who recognize and appreciate their genuine value to the world. Plus then H&M will actually be able to use their marriage titles, Prince and Princess Henry of Windsor, which actually has a lovely ring to it. To those of you with the capacity to take on a non-UK tabloid-influenced perspective, it remains a staggering reality that all of these title-stripping threats are simply due to Harry and Meghan's courage and determination not to allow distortions and blatant lies about their interactions with others, as reported by the UK's revolting toxic press, to stand. They simply dared to go public and offer their lived experience against the fake scripted narrative implanted into the British public consciousness by palace PR teams, private secretaries, and William Camilla themselves. For the UK, a region once known for its higher education, good manners, and leadership, to fall so far from grace and now be known for its greedy, culturally intolerant, misogynistic monarchy, obsession with toxic tabloid headlines, and refusal to acknowledge its dishonorable history of enriching their people by way of enslaving and trafficking POC, people of color, not to mention their theft of resources and artifacts from the conquered and occupied nations of the British Empire. It is a sad state of affairs, one I pray my own country takes action to distance itself from. Thank heavens I was born in Canada, where I was taught to think, to read, to research, and to not just gobble up what was being spoon-fed to me by the newspapers, my textbooks, my teachers, my parents, etc. We are educated here for the most part within a framework of critical thinking and within a culture of acceptance and inclusion, with a strong abhorrence for hate and gossip. Many of us here and elsewhere in the world who lived through the era of Diana were quick to recognize that the old playbook that sought to destroy the reputation, charitable work, and legacy of the Princess of Wales had been dusted off to destroy Diana's youngest son and his new multiracial bride. How predictable, how sad, how utterly vile and narrow-sighted. I mean, how have so many Brits fallen for this sick game again? It's baffling. How any of you really believe that all of a sudden these two long-established humanitarian-focused public figures, on vastly different global scales of course, suddenly morphed into who and what the tabloid rags reported them to be, just defies common sense? How does that even pass the sniff test? Nova Cula Alchemy. Harry and Meghan, both before and after meeting one another, were extremely popular in their worlds and known by the overwhelming majority to be hardworking, focused, driven, kind, compassionate, articulate, grounded, and more than anything ethical in their occupational work, their philanthropic work, and in their personal lives. Agreed, Harry knew little of the truths faced by people of color in the Americas and the Commonwealth, and Meghan knew little of the truths behind the palace gates and norms still beholden by the British upper crust, but they had one another to teach them. They both learned, they both grew, and they both adapted well. However, that growth and adaptation strengthened the quality of their philanthropic work and royal duties to such a degree that they clearly began to eclipse others closer to the crown itself. It is the failure of the firm not to leverage that learning, that strength, and ultimately that tremendous popularity into something that could have levitated the entire royal family into a super force of global humanitarianism, international public goodwill, and prosperity for every nation of the Commonwealth and the UK itself. But no, instead, the firm and British royal family principles themselves fell back decades to their toxic tactics based on insecurity and jealousy towards the contrived destruction of two family members, largely based upon cultural intolerance, Meghan's American-Canadian culture that is, implicit bias, Meghan's race, social class, caste, gender, and perceived lack of usefulness. Harry, as the once spare, now 3 times removed 6th in line of succession placeholder. We, the many factions within the Commonwealth and the loyal fans of Meghan pre-Harry living outside the UK, see the truth of who Harry and Meghan were and continue to be. The facts speak for themselves. Here are some examples. 1. Harry and Meghan remained silent while serving Her Majesty, the Queen and country and Commonwealth. The firm and other principals within the British royal family did not. Instead, they used the tabloids to diminish their current popularity, ability to serve the crown, and the historical record of their earlier pre-relationship philanthropic service and careers. 2. Harry and Meghan never shred their lived experiences until after stepping back, after the assaults on them continued voraciously despite their relocation abroad, and after an entire year of no accountability, no civility, and no response to their efforts for peace and coexistence. The firm and other principals within the British royal family continued to feed the tabloid beast with lies, leaks, and decisions that put the couple and their children physically, mentally at risk, that impacted both the companies and new hires they were working with professionally, and that publicly dismissed, discredited the humanitarian work undertaken by H&M and the Archewell Foundation, including efforts on behalf of military families and veteran families. 3. Harry and Meghan have a decades-long track record of speaking truth to power. The firm and other principals within the British royal family have a decades-long track record of protecting the heirs at any cost, regardless of truth and circumstance. 4. Harry and Meghan remain surrounded by highly respected, creative, and humanitarian-oriented friends and colleagues of the highest order and repute, earned by their good deeds versus inherited wealth. The firm and other principals within the British royal family remain surrounded by elitist-minded courtiers, tabloid reporters, editors, and friends within the British aristocracy, positions in society earned by their inherited wealth off the backs of enslaved people of color decades earlier versus their good deeds. So until I see a vast change in King Charles III's treatment of Harry and Meghan, the rest besides Eugenie and Jack are likely a lost cause, I will support our country's growing efforts to discontinue our relationship with the UK and Crown, because frankly we Canadians long outgrew you in our individual and family values, our cultural inclusiveness, and our duty to engage in the reparations process with our Indigenous peoples, an endeavor Harry and Meghan are actively helping us with. Most of you, beyond the amazing Sussex Squaddies, probably didn't even know that, did you?